Becca.
Hi.
How you doing? Okay, Becca, the color of the year just came out, and it is peach fuzz.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so personally, I don't get it. I don't get the color of the year. I don't get the significance. Um, do people pay attention to the color of the year?
I think yes and no. So personally, I don't love the color, but I think there's ways that it can be done correctly. I love pairing it with dark, moody jewel tones.
Yeah.
If you pull in a little bit of a lighter peach fuzz color on the wall and then pop it against a darker sofa, it's pretty with plums and teals, burgundies, jewel tones like that will look really pretty with that. And I think if you kind of just bring in smaller elements and accessories, that's a way to embrace the color without making a huge commitment. Do I think you should paint your whole house peach fuzz? Absolutely not.
Right. Wow, that's a lot of peach.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a lot of peach. But you can certainly bring it in with accessories, and that's an inexpensive way to bring in that color without going crazy.
So kind of a nod to that color as
Right.
opposed to, like you said, a huge commitment.
Yes.
So would you say if someone was going to use that color, would it be best in a dining room or would it be best in a kitchen? Like what kind of space lends to a really polarizing color?
I think if you were to use that accessory-wise, you could use it pretty much anywhere. I was just at the Mart this past week, and I am seeing smaller pieces of it being used, but I would say it's more being used with some of the neutral tones. So we're thinking about a lot of the boho look, the creams and tans and taupes and mauves. Right. So you're seeing it being used with that. So in that case, you could use that in a living room, family room, a bedroom. It would be really pretty in a bedroom. If you wanted to go a little bit bolder and use it on your walls, I think a really nice formal living room, it would be pretty there as well.
Yeah.
And then if you just wanted to use it for accessories, I mean, you can bring it in vases. You can bring it in.
Oh, that's true.
Fresh florals would be pretty.
Yeah. I think of that color, the peach fuzz, as almost bridal. It seems...
blush and bashful.
Exactly. Shelby, Weezer. It feels bridal, or it feels like a nursery. It kind of has, it lends to a much softer...
It's very feminine. It's a very feminine color. But again, if you pair it with your jewel tones, there is a way to bring in that more masculine element with it. So you can bring it in and use it in different ways to where it's not so polarizing.
Yeah. I like your idea of having the jewel tones, like a Chesterfield in like a like a teal, and then having the walls, because like there's different tones of it. I mean, just because the color of the year is peach fuzz, could it be lighter, darker? Like it kind of has that dimension to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. So talk to me about when someone is getting ready for spring market and they're thinking, oh, here we go. It is time. Interest rates are coming down. I have been sitting on the fence. I'm ready to take that jump. And I need to paint my whole house because I still have 1986 Tuscan colors all over the place. What's your recommendation for folks getting ready to sell?
So certainly not peach fuzz in the entire house.
Amen.
I am starting to see less gray.
Okay.
That's not to say that if you have gray in your home that you need to paint it a different color. However, if you are planning on selling and you already need to paint, what I'm suggesting is doing a softer white. That tends to be a nice neutral. Anybody who comes in there, it's not going to offend anybody. You're not you want to appeal to the most buyers.
Right.
It also allows you to open up your space. So your home will appear larger. The square footage will appear to be more.
Okay.
It's brighter, so it allows more natural light to reflect off the walls.
So true.
I'm always putting in a softer white.
Okay.
If the house can take it. If it's a more traditional home and white won't go with, let's say you have a lot of wood cabinetry and wood trim, things like that.
Okay.
If the white doesn't work, then I think we can bring in more of a grayish tone.
Okay.
So like a Benjamin Moore Revere pewter is a nice color to bring in.
Yes.
It's still neutral, but it's not gray tones and it's not white. I would say I use that more in traditional homes.
So how do you find the perfect white? Because man, when you look at the whites,
so many.
all of a sudden you're looking at oh, these are our white samples, but that looks green, that looks pink, that looks blue. How do you determine what the best white is?
So that's when bringing in a designer really helps,
Mhm.
because we see things a little bit under a little bit more of a microscope than you would technically
Mhm,
see.
mhm.
So when I come into a space, I take into consideration the light sources. Do we
Mhm.
have a lot of fluorescent lighting? Do we have
Mhm.
natural lighting? And how that plays with the color.
Mhm.
Every color has undertones, so
Mhm.
making sure that we don't pull yellow undertones or pink undertones or blue
Mhm.
undertones. So sometimes you don't want that.
Right.
I try to, especially for a home that's going on the market, I try to do something more neutral. So I try not to get anything with really any undertones,
Okay.
because you don't want that to show up when people come in the house. You want to go, oh, that's a really yellow white, or that's a
Right.
really pinky white.
Yeah. Or you can't quite put your finger on it and you're like, you kind of get a pause. That's the
Right.
last thing you want when you walk into a house, is to have any kind of pause.
Right.
So,
And additionally with temperature. So
mhm.
typically when I'm doing a paint, I will do a warmer tone of the paint color. I
Okay.
try to stay away from the cooler tones because that can be off-putting as well.
Okay. Okay. So unpack that for me. When you're talking about paint colors being warmer or cooler, what colors lend to cool and what lends to warm?
So your blues, greens, those are going to be your cooler colors. The
Mhm.
warmer colors are going to be like your beiges, and your taupes, things like that. Browns are coming back big time, believe it or not.
Okay, so tell me, I mean, browns. What do you mean
Yeah.
browns? I start to get nervous when I hear that.
No, really, seeing it all over the mart.
Okay.
It's really, you're starting to see it come into the natural wood tones,
Ah.
also in furniture.
Okay.
So I don't want you to think like late 90s browns.
Right.
It's
I'm
not
starting
like
to think
that.
giant Tootsie Roll sofas.
Yeah,
No.
no. And, not the Tuscan stuff that we
Okay.
saw in the late 90s.
Yeah.
It's going to be more bringing it in the wood tones in your furniture. A lot of natural wood shelving. Kitchens are huge, bringing in a lot of browns in the kitchen. So,
Okay.
and that's all natural wood tones. So from light to dark, you're starting to see that come back into kitchens.
Okay. Tell me there's no pickled wood, please.
No pickled wood.
Thank you, Lord.
Yes,
Please,
no pickled wood.
Yeah.
But a lot of people who maybe have been thinking about painting their cabinetry over the last several years and didn't pull the trigger and are ready to do it, you don't need to do that.
Don't do it. You're
wood
good.
Wood is back.
Wood is back. That's awesome.
Fabrics, you're starting to see a lot of the brown tones in fabrics. Pillows, a lot of the textures, herringbones, plaids, things
Gorgeous.
like that. Yes.
So when we talk about neutrals and browns, how can people use that in their home without it being too dark? That's the first thing I think of when I think of brown. I think of, oh, that's dark.
So I think if you look for texture first, so you'll start to see a lot of wools and linens and textures and rugs and pillows. That's certainly a way to bring that in.
Right.
Leather is always a great choice to bring into a house if you want to warm up the space. A nice saddle color leather chair would be nice. I know you love the Chesterfield sofas.
Give me a Chesterfield
So
all day long.
A Chesterfield sofa is beautiful, and that paired with a softer fabric. I try to tell people to stay away from using too much leather in a space. Some people like to buy the whole set. You don't need to do that. So pairing a nice saddle leather Chesterfield with a warmer fabric chair or another love seat, that's the way that I would bring that in.
So let's talk about when you go into a client's home and they want to take you to one of those big box stores that has everything that looks the same, and they've got some amazing Memorial Day sale or Labor Day sale, and everything looks identical. How do you manage that? How do you choose things for people so it looks custom?
So I'll typically say if somebody's in love with a particular piece of furniture, okay, great. Let's start with that and we'll build around it. I personally love to thrift. I love to go to antique stores. I like finding one-of-a-kind items. Like we did with your house, we used a lot of your existing pieces, and we didn't go and buy new pieces. We did get a few pieces that were from a warehouse store, but most of what we used we repurposed in a different room, or we updated somehow. So that's what I prefer to do, is find a piece that is unique, and that way it looks like everything in your home has been curated over time and not necessarily walked into a big box store and
Right.
gotten the whole room.
Right. And it makes such a difference. I mean, I just have to say that you are able to take things that I love and incorporate them in a way that I would have never thought. And then because you love it and you usually have a certain style, it